You know, here at the shop we see a lot of old stuff. But some things are older than others. Let's talk about something really old. The first gold coins. Before coins, people traded stuff for other stuff. A goat for a few chickens, maybe some grain for a pot. It was complicated. You had to find someone who wanted exactly what you had. Then, around 600 BC, some smart folks in a place called Lydia, in modern-day Turkey, had a revolutionary idea. They decided to make small, standardized pieces of metal that everyone would accept as payment. It was a game changer. These first coins weren't pure gold. They were made from a natural alloy of gold and silver called electrum. The Lydians found it in the rivers. They would heat up these little lumps of electrum and stamp them with a picture. Usually, it was a lion's head, the symbol of their king. This stamp was like a guarantee. It said, "This piece of metal has a certain weight and value, and the king says so." Suddenly, trade got a whole lot easier. You didn't have to haggle over the weight of gold dust every time you bought something. The value was right there, stamped on the coin. This idea caught on like wildfire. King Croesus of Lydia, a name you might know for being rich as Croesus, was one of the first rulers to issue pure gold and pure silver coins, separating them from the electrum mix. This was a huge step forward. Now you had a clear system. Gold coins were for big purchases, and silver was for smaller, everyday things. It created a reliable monetary system that people could trust. The king's stamp wasn't just a pretty picture. It was his personal promise that the coin was good for its stated value. That's how you build an economy. Think about it. This simple invention from over 2,500 years ago laid the foundation for every financial transaction we make today. From your credit card to the cash in your wallet, it all goes back to that Lydian king stamping a lion's head on a piece of gold. It brought order to chaos and made it possible for empires to grow, armies to be paid, and massive projects to be funded. Every time a gold coin comes into my shop, I'm holding a piece of that history. It's more than just money, it's the start of money as we know it. So, the Lydians had a great idea, and great ideas tend to spread. The ancient Greeks, who were big on trade and philosophy, quickly saw the genius of coinage. They started minting their own coins, and they took it to another level. Each Greek city-state, like Athens or Corinth, had its own unique coin. The Athenian owl tetradrachm, made of silver, is famous, but they also minted beautiful gold coins called staters. These coins weren't just for buying things, they were a form of advertising. They showed off the city's patron god or goddess, its wealth, and its artistic skill. It was a business card made of precious metal. Then you have the Persians. Their empire was massive, and they needed a way to manage it. King Darius I introduced the gold daric, a thick coin usually showing the king with a bow and arrow. This became one of the first international currencies. Because the Persian Empire was so huge and powerful, their gold darics were trusted everywhere from Egypt to India. A soldier in the Persian army knew he could take his pay, a gold daric, and spend it anywhere in the known world. That's power. It standardized trade across vast distances and made the Persian kings incredibly wealthy. Of course, you can't talk about ancient empires without talking about the Romans. The Romans were masters of organization, and that included their money. Their most famous gold coin was the aureus. It was a little smaller than a modern quarter, but was worth a lot, often a month's pay for a legionary soldier. The Romans mass-produced these coins. On the front, you'd always have the head of the current emperor. It was brilliant propaganda. Every time someone used a coin, they saw the face of the man in charge. It spread the image of the emperor across the entire empire, reinforcing his power in a way no statue could. As the Roman Empire grew, so did its need for gold. They mined it all over Europe and North Africa. But as the empire started to decline, the quality of the coins went down too. The emperors would put less gold in the aureus to save money, a process called debasement. People weren't stupid. They knew the coins were worth less. This led to inflation and economic chaos, which was a big factor in the fall of Rome. It's a classic story we see time and again in history. When you mess with the money, you mess with the stability of the entire society. When people think of gold coins, they usually picture big, heavy pieces of treasure. But a lot of important history is wrapped up in the small ones. You see, a big gold coin was worth a fortune. It wasn't practical for buying a loaf of bread or a jug of wine. For everyday life, you needed smaller denominations. The Romans understood this. Alongside their big aureus, they minted a smaller gold coin called the quinarius aureus. worth half an aureus. It was still valuable, but it made certain transactions easier for merchants and the wealthy. It's like having a $50 bill instead of only hundreds. In the Byzantine Empire, the successor to the Roman Empire in the East, they had a tiny gold coin called the tremesis. It was worth 1/3 of their standard gold coin, the solidus. These little guys were incredibly important. They were lightweight, easy to carry, and circulated all over the Mediterranean world for centuries. Because the Byzantine Empire was a major hub for trade, these small tremesis coins have been found as far away as England and Scandinavia. They show just how far the economic influence of Constantinople reached. For a Viking trader, finding a tiny gold tremesis was a big deal. Now, let's jump over to Asia. While China mostly used bronze and later paper money, other kingdoms in the region used gold. In India, for example, various dynasties minted tiny gold coins called phantoms. Some of these are smaller than a pencil eraser and weigh less than half a gram. You might think, what's the point? But in an economy where a little bit of gold went a long way, these miniature coins were essential for local markets. They were often decorated with intricate designs of deities or animals, making them tiny works of art. Finding a handful of these is like finding a lost treasure from a forgotten kingdom. The significance of these small coins is huge. They tell us about the daily lives of people, not just the grand actions of kings and emperors. A big coin tells you about paying an army. A small coin tells you about the price of goods in a market. They show that gold wasn't just for the super rich. It was part of a complex economic system that reached down to local merchants and traders. When a customer brings in a tiny, almost unidentifiable gold coin, my first thought isn't about its melt value. It's about the story it tells and the corner of the world it came from. After the Roman Empire fell in the West, Europe got a little chaotic. We call it the Dark Ages. And for a while, large-scale trade broke down. The use of gold coins became much rarer in places like France and England. Economies became very local. People went back to bartering or using low-value silver or bronze coins. A few kings and rulers tried to mint gold, but they didn't have the resources or the stability of the Romans. For several centuries, the major gold coins circulating in Europe were actually the Byzantine solidus, or Arabic dinars, brought in by traders from the East. It shows you who was really running the world economy back then. Things started to change around the 13th century. Trade began to pick up again, especially with powerful Italian city-states like Venice and Florence leading the way. In 1252, the city of Florence issued a new gold coin called the florin. It was made of pure gold and featured John the Baptist on one side, and a lily flower, the symbol of the city, on the other. It was a high-quality coin, and merchants all over Europe trusted it. The florin became the new international currency, the dollar of the Middle Ages. It was a symbol of Europe's economic reawakening. Not to be outdone, Venice introduced its own gold coin in 1284, the ducat. It was very similar in weight and purity to the florin, and featured Saint Mark, presenting a banner to the Doge, the leader of Venice. For the next 500 years, the Venetian ducat was one of the most important coins in the world. Its design and quality barely changed over that entire time. That consistency was its strength. A merchant in London or Cairo knew that a Venetian ducat was always good, pure gold. This stability helped fuel the trade and exploration that led to the Renaissance. This period was all about the rebirth of a stable economy in Europe, and gold coins were at the heart of it. They financed the artists of the Renaissance, the voyages of explorers, and the ambitions of kings. When you see a gold florin or ducat, you're looking at the money that built the modern Western world. It represents the shift from a fragmented, localized system back to a global network of trade and finance. It's the kind of history that gives you goosebumps, and it's all locked away in these beautiful pieces of metal. When Columbus bumped into the Americas in 1492, everything changed. The Spanish conquistadors who followed weren't just looking for new lands, they were looking for gold, and they found it, a lot of it. The Aztec and Inca empires had vast treasures of gold, which the Spanish promptly melted down and shipped back to Europe. This massive influx of gold and silver from the New World had a huge impact on the world economy. Spain became the richest and most powerful nation on earth, and their gold coins were the new standard. The most famous of these was the Spanish escudo, a big, beautiful gold coin, often called a doubloon, especially the large 8 escudo piece. These were the legendary pieces of 8 you hear about in pirate stories, though that term usually refers to the silver coins. These gold doubloons were minted in places like Mexico City, Lima, and Potosi. Because they were so plentiful and made of high-quality gold from the Americas, they were accepted as currency all over the world, including in the British colonies in North America. For a long time, the most common gold coin in colonial America wasn't British, it was Spanish. Before the United States was even a country, the colonies were a real mix of different currencies. You had British pounds, French louis d'or, and a whole lot of those Spanish doubloons. It was confusing. Each colony had its own exchange rates. After the American Revolution, the Founding Fathers knew they needed their own unified currency to be a real nation. The Coinage Act of 1792 established the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and authorized the minting of American gold coins. This was a huge declaration of economic independence from Europe. The first U.S. gold coins were the eagle, worth $10, the half eagle, worth $5, and the quarter eagle, worth $2.50. They featured Lady Liberty on the front and an eagle on the back, powerful symbols for a new, proud nation. These early coins are incredibly rare and valuable today. They weren't just money, they were a statement. They said, "We are the United States of America. We have our own resources, our own economy, and our own destiny." It was the American dream, stamped right into a piece of gold. The amount of gold the United States Mint could produce in the early days was, honestly, pretty limited. Then came 1848. A guy named James Marshall found gold at Sutter's Mill in California, and, well, the world went crazy. The California gold rush was on. Suddenly, there was just this massive flood of gold pouring out of the West Coast. This changed everything for the U.S. economy and its coinage. The government had so much gold, they actually had to create new coins just to handle it all. It was honestly an amazing problem to have. In response to this new wealth, Congress authorized 2 new gold coins in 1849. First was the tiny gold dollar. It was the smallest U.S. coin ever made, even smaller than a modern dime. It was super useful for small transactions, but being so small, it was also very easy to lose. The other coin was its complete opposite, the massive double eagle, a $20 gold piece. This became the workhorse of American gold coinage. It contained nearly a full ounce of gold, and was used for large bank transactions, international trade, and to store wealth. It was really the ultimate symbol of America's newfound prosperity. The designs of these coins are just iconic. The first double eagle, the Liberty Head, was designed by James B. Longacre, and was minted from 1849 to 1907. It's a classic, formal design. But in the early 20th century, President Teddy Roosevelt wanted American coins to be more beautiful, to be works of art comparable to the ancient Greeks. He actually commissioned the famous sculptor Augustus St. Gaudens to redesign the eagle and double eagle. The result was the most beautiful coin in American history, the St. Gaudens double eagle. It shows Lady Liberty striding forward with a torch and olive branch, with this majestic flying eagle on the back. These coins were the backbone of the American economy for decades. The country was on the gold standard, which meant that paper money could, in theory, be exchanged for its equivalent value in gold coins. This gave people tremendous faith in the US dollar. The era of the gold rush and the big gold coins that followed was a period of incredible growth and expansion for the United States. It powered the Industrial Revolution, settled the West, and turned America into a global economic superpower. Every double eagle that comes into the shop is a heavy piece of that powerful history. Every collector has a dream, a holy grail they hope to find. In the world of gold coins, some pieces are so rare and have such amazing stories that they're honestly the stuff of legend. These are the coins that sell for millions of dollars at auction. They're not just valuable for their gold content, they're valuable because they're unique pieces of history. Take the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle. The United States minted almost 500,000 of them. But then President Franklin D. Roosevelt took the country off the gold standard and ordered almost all of them to be melted down before they were ever issued. Only a handful of the 1933 double eagles escaped the melting pot. For decades, the government considered them stolen property. One of these coins mysteriously ended up in the collection of King Farouk of Egypt. After a long international legal battle, that single coin was sold at auction in 2002 for a staggering $7.59 million. Then, in 2021, it sold again for $18.9 million, making it the most expensive coin in the world. It's a perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and an incredible backstory involving a king and government agents. You really can't make this stuff up. Another legendary rarity is the 1822 half-eagle. The United States Mint produced nearly 18,000 of these $5 gold pieces that year. So, where are they? Well, most of them were probably melted down over the years to make new coins. Today, we only know of 3 surviving examples. 2 of them are locked away in the Smithsonian Institution's National Collection. That means there's only one 1822 half-eagle in private hands. The last time it sold, it went for over $8 million. It's a coin that even the most serious collectors can only dream of owning. Then there's the Brasher doubloon, one of the first gold coins made for the United States, even before the United States Mint was established. A goldsmith named Ephraim Brasher, who actually lived next door to George Washington in New York, created them in 1787. He made a few different types, but the most famous has his EB punchmark right on the eagle's breast. These coins are incredibly rare and represent a critical moment in American history, a private citizen trying to create a national currency. One of these sold for nearly $9.4 million. These coins are the pinnacles of the hobby, reminders that sometimes a small piece of gold can be absolutely priceless. For most of history, money was real, tangible stuff. It was a piece of gold or silver you could actually hold in your hand. But that all started to change. The Great Depression in the 1930s was a turning point. People were hoarding gold, which made the economic crisis even worse. So, in 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued Executive Order 6010-2. It made it illegal for U.S. citizens to own most forms of gold, including coins and bullion. People were required to turn in their gold to the government in exchange for paper money. That was, honestly, the end of gold coins as circulating currency in America. The government collected all that gold and melted it down, storing it as gold bars in places like Fort Knox. The country was officially off the gold standard for its citizens. For the next 40 years, you couldn't legally own gold bullion in the United States. The idea was to put more faith in the government-issued paper dollar rather than the metal itself. The rest of the world still operated on a system where countries could exchange US dollars for gold, but even that ended in 1971 under President Nixon. This event, known as the Nixon shock, severed the final link between the dollar and gold. The shift to what we call fiat currency, money that has value because the government says it does, not because it's backed by a physical commodity, was complete. Our money became numbers in a bank account, pieces of paper, and eventually, digital bits on a computer screen. From a practical standpoint, it's more efficient. You can't exactly buy a coffee with a sliver of a gold coin. Digital transactions are instant and can travel around the world in a second. We've moved a long way from the Lydian marketplace, but something was lost in that transition. The discipline of the gold standard was gone. With a gold standard, a government can't just print more money whenever it wants to. It has to have the gold to back it up. With fiat currency, it can. This has led to concerns about inflation and the long-term value of paper money. That old, primal trust in the weight and feel of a gold coin didn't just disappear. It went dormant, waiting for the day when people could once again hold real wealth in their hands. Just because gold coins stopped being used as everyday money doesn't mean the story is over. Far from it. In 1974, President Gerald Ford signed a bill that once again made it legal for Americans to own gold bullion. This opened the floodgates for a whole new era of gold ownership. People weren't using it to buy groceries, but they were buying it as an investment, a hedge against inflation, and a way to preserve wealth. The public's fascination with gold had never really gone away. In 1986, the United States Mint capitalized on this renewed interest by introducing the American Gold Eagle bullion coin. These aren't meant for circulation. They're specifically made for investors and collectors. They come in different sizes, from 1/10 of an ounce up to a full ounce, and their value is tied directly to the daily market price of gold. They feature the famous St. Gaudens design on the front, connecting them back to the golden age of U.S. coinage. Many other countries, like Canada with its maple leaf and South Africa with its Krugerrand, have their own popular bullion coins. Today, the world of gold coins is split into 2 main camps. First, you have the investors, or stackers, who buy modern bullion coins like the American Eagle. For them, it's all about the weight. They're buying gold as a commodity, a safe haven asset to protect their portfolio. They want to own the metal in a convenient, recognizable, and easily traded form. It's a straightforward financial decision, a modern version of burying treasure in the backyard for a rainy day. Then you have the collectors, the numismatists. I see these guys all the time. For them, a coin's value isn't just its gold content. It's about rarity, historical significance, condition, and the beauty of its design. They're the ones hunting for that Roman aureus, that Spanish doubloon, or that rare date Liberty Head double eagle. They are custodians of history. Collecting gold coins is a way to connect with the past, to hold a piece of an ancient empire or a moment from the gold rush in the palm of your hand. That's a feeling you'll never get from a stock certificate or a cryptocurrency wallet. And that's why, no matter how modern the world gets, gold will always shine.